Claire's mother-in-law greeted her warmly, telling her to make herself at home but reminding her that she was a guest. Her mother-in-law's daughter, smiling shyly, stood beside her. Claire responded with a modest smile and followed James to their room. As he closed the door, her husband embraced her and said, "Finally, Claire, you and I are a family." During dinner, the mother-in-law remarked, "Don't sleep in too late tomorrow. You'll help me prepare breakfast. Our family is large, as you can see." Claire smiled, knowing that her husband's family was indeed numerous, with 4 brothers and 1 sister. James's father had built a large house for everyone before he passed away, and each family member had their own spacious room. When Claire and James decided to get married, James assured her that the house was large enough for everyone and that she wouldn't get bored while he was at work. James worked shifts at a lumber processing factory 5 kilometers from the city. The salary was good, so they decided Claire would not work and instead focus on creating a comfortable and welcoming environment for their small family. The decision was supported by James's mother, who believed that a wife's role was to take care of her husband. Thus, there would always be a hot and delicious dinner waiting for him, a clean house, and a loving wife. Claire then reflected on how kind and understanding her mother-in-law had been. Eva, her mother-in-law, mentioned that she had always had to work and manage the house on her own. The next morning, Claire woke up early, as promised, to help Eva prepare breakfast. After saying goodbye to her husband, Claire washed the dishes and then went to the bedrooms. She made the beds, cleaned, and organized the clothes. Her mother-in-law entered the room without knocking and said, "When you finish here, clean the other rooms as well. Then, start preparing lunch because I want Sophia, when she returns from school, to have a hot soup ready to eat immediately. The food at her school is just snacks, which ruins the girl's appetite." Claire was surprised by the request but said nothing. She realized she couldn't spend the whole day doing nothing and that she should help Eva. After all, she was the mother of her new family. Every morning, Claire was the first to wake up and prepare breakfast. After saying goodbye to everyone, she would start cleaning, cooking, washing, and ironing clothes. Eva only gave orders on what needed to be done. Eva instructed Claire to gather everyone's clothes, including the boys' sheets, and frequently threw a large pile of sheets at her to wash. When Claire decided to use the washing machine for the first time, Eva immediately turned it off, saying, "What's wrong with you? This machine is very expensive, and we only use it for specific clothes. Besides, you need to save electricity. It doesn't clean properly. It's more reliable to do it by hand. It's not difficult. I've hand-washed everything my whole life and never got tired of it." Every day followed the same routine, filled with orders. "Claire, clean Leon's room. He ate there again yesterday and there are crumbs everywhere. Wash Noah's work uniform. He's been wearing it for 2 weeks. Then wash Leon's pants, bleach Sophia's blouse, and prepare the living room for Noah's meeting." Claire spent the whole day attending to these tasks, like a squirrel on a wheel, serving her large new family. Eva didn't help at all. After giving her orders, she would spend the entire day talking with the neighbors. After a few months of living this way, Claire regretted agreeing to live with her mother-in-law. It would be better to live in a storage room or a dormitory than like this, she thought sadly, but she didn't dare complain to her husband. James noticed something was wrong with his wife. Claire had lost weight, looked paler and thinner. As soon as he got home, she was already exhausted and ready to sleep. "What's going on, Claire?" he asked, trying to get her to talk. However, she just shook her head and replied, "It's fine. I'm just getting used to my new family life." For Eva, this was nothing unusual. Eva believed that in the past, women were responsible for running the whole house, and that complaining about this aspect of married life was wrong. As long as the husband didn't drink and made an effort to bring money home, that was what really mattered. One day, an accident occurred at the factory, and James was sent home early. He was happy to have more time with his wife. He decided to go to the store, bought a cake and a bottle of champagne, and returned home all excited. However, he was very surprised to find that Claire was not at home. "Where is Claire?" he asked his mother, who was standing by the fence. "She's at the river," his mother replied. James thought she might have gone out for a walk and went to the river. When he arrived there, he found Claire on a raft washing clothes. There were 2 huge bowls full of clothes next to her. "What does all this mean? Why are you washing all these clothes by hand? Why don't you use the washing machine?" James asked. Claire got up from her knees, approached her husband, rested her head on his chest, and began to cry. Concerned, James hugged his wife and encouraged her to share everything she had been keeping inside. Claire opened up, and her husband was furious. "Let's go," James said angrily. He took the clothes from the bowls, put them in a nearby cart, and rushed to his mother's house. "I brought my wife home, not a servant for you," he shouted when he saw Eva. Eva protested, but Sophie, who had already returned from school, was standing next to her mother, glaring at Claire. "You have no reason to complain," Sophie said. "You didn't marry a rich man who could hire a maid." Eva responded calmly, "This has been the way all my life. The wife must take care of her husband and his family." James retorted, "We're not in the 17th century anymore, and I don't want my wife to harm her health while bending over backwards to serve my lazy relatives. And why won't you let her use the washing machine?" Eva replied, "You know how much electricity it consumes. And, by the way, I'm the one who pays for it." The argument grew loud. James's brothers, who had returned from work, joined in, and no one wanted to lose the maid, so everyone supported their mother. But James stood his ground. "My wife is not going to work for you anymore. Fortunately, Dad divided this house and I have my share of it. Claire and I will have our own home." James embraced his wife and took her to their room. "If they hurt you in any way again, let me know immediately," he said. Claire, happy, promised she would. However, even though she was free from household chores, she still struggled to breathe easily. The constant humiliation continued. The family blamed and mocked her, saying she didn't wash the dishes properly, didn't set the table right, or didn't clean adequately. She still wasn't allowed to use the washing machine. "It's our machine," her mother-in-law said, biting her lips with anger. "You've disconnected yourself from our family, so don't use our things. Be grateful we still let you use our dishes." Claire didn't feel frustrated, as taking care of just her and James was much better than having to meet the needs of 6 people. However, her tranquility seemed to only increase the irritation of others. On one occasion, Sophia was carrying a bowl of washed linens to hang them in the yard, after Claire had stopped doing the household chores. Sophia's mother forced the girl to do all the housework, which generated resentment toward Claire. That day, Sophia pushed Claire, who lost her balance and fell from the porch. The pile of wet linens fell on her, and Claire fainted after experiencing intense pain in her stomach. When she woke up, she was already in the hospital, with James sitting by her side. "What's happening to me?" Claire whispered. "It's all right now," James said, his voice trembling. He then revealed something that left Claire saddened. She was pregnant, but the fall had caused her to lose the baby. However, the doctor informed her that she could still get pregnant again. James leaned in and embraced his wife tenderly. After leaving the hospital, the couple moved into a rented apartment. Claire found a job at a local library, but worked there for only a short time. A new phase of married life, marked by peace and dissatisfaction, began. Claire became pregnant again as planned. James and Claire started building their own house, and by the time their daughter was born, James's family no longer lived with his mother. They could no longer tolerate being constantly ordered around, and when they found jobs, they moved out. James and Claire kept in touch with his mother, sister, and brothers. The birth of the grandchildren did not change Eva's behavior. She had no intention of taking care of them and was always convinced that her treatment of the family was correct. Claire never needed her mother-in-law's help, relying on the support of her parents and the love of her husband. This story is based on real events. The couple lived together for 45 years, had 4 children who became successful people, and unfortunately, James passed away. Claire continues to care for her 12 wonderful grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren.